The Immortal Constellation, written by Edith Balogh, translated by Barbara Donchazy and Edith Simon, read by Edith Simon. Our mission is to give an alternative viewpoint on life in this rapidly evolving moment in time. We feel there are many out there who have been waiting for such a message, which is why we poured our time, energy, and love into this project's manifestation. To aid humanity as well as ourselves in this transformation. To land together in a new, better reality, bathed in the sea of love and eternal unity. If you resonate with this message and would like to support our work, please feel free to share it with your community. Please subscribe, share, and like this video so the YouTube algorithm will suggest it to others interested in this topic. Thank you. Quote by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Those who do not attempt the impossible will never reach the possible either. The Immortal Constellation. Firstly, to avoid any confusions, we must define the meaning behind the term of what I mean by immortal constellation. Everybody possesses their own subjective concept or definition of what immortality really stands for. I simply mean it as the direct opposite of mortal. First, let us examine what mortal really means. We know that humans are mortal beings. In other words, they must pass on whether they wish it or not. When the time arrives, death yields his sickle, and the inevitable occurs. The significance of this is that no choice lies behind our demise. It is accepted as the natural order of life that death must occur. But this in itself is paradoxical. How can the order of life be death? This is not possible, no. The order of life can and must only be life. Life contains the will, the means, and the desire to keep living, which is why we have the intense desire within ourselves to live, as we are a form of life itself. This does not equate to us being unable to destroy ourselves by any number of means. We can detach ourselves from the vessels of our bodies, and we can damage ourselves and others if we choose. But just as we can choose death, in the same sense it follows we can also choose life. There is no big book where it is prescribed death must happen. There is no such law in nature. Our bodies are completely capable of continuous regeneration, so what is it which prevents us from doing so? All that hinders us, that we are not aware of how to continue living, and we are certain we must die. Thus, we always do things which disrupt the continuity, as our being is not consciously controlled. The program is what controls us through our belief systems. The continuity of human lifespan without a horizon, immortality, the eternal, could be made possible by the choice of an awakened consciousness. I would also like to put forth that I am not discussing a quest to attain the so-called fountain of youth, as alchemists have done so in the past. I have not stumbled upon any such miraculous implement or remedy, nor I have searched for one, as I do not believe in its existence. There is no composition of elements or a guidebook on how to fusion them together to create such a thing. People must reach this state through their growth and progress. Reaching the level of true consciousness is the necessary and only step in the attainment of this goal. This is true alchemy. To control the changes and evolutionary processes of our bodies. Until someone's conscious self is awakened, there is nothing and no one else which can do it for them. There is no magical elixir or spell. Do not wait for someone to stumble upon the secret of life and press it into a pill form. Do not sit back idly and hope that a pill can fix either your inner turmoil or self-esteem. Magic does not happen this way. Everybody must reach these changes from within themselves, for themselves. No external force can open your mind to consciousness for you. The fountain of life is within our very veins, and the prima materia is our bodies. We are simultaneously the magic and the magician in one. We are all alchemists. We are life. The Immortal Constellation is a global consciousness which is in the spirit of the age of the Aquarius, an era where we will be able to step outside of our illusions, disconnectedness, defenselessness that we currently imagine to be our reality. An era which allows for us to realize our true natures and true selves so that we can shed our learned egos, a point where our true consciousness awakens. Realize that what and who we truly are is not mortal. It forever exists. It is life itself. We have to familiarize ourselves with this knowledge and understand that the matter which our bodies are composed of is manifested through nature's program, but in reality, we are the architects of this program. We are the matter and the spirit which is manifesting. We are both what is manifested and the carrier of that manifestation. The changes which are made and how they are made is completely on their own authority if we wish it so. It is only automated until we become aware of it and begin controlling it with our consciousness. Before anything else, we must familiarize ourselves, with the systems and processes of our bodies and those of our minds. We must get to know our feelings and our reactions to our inner and external world, which brings upon change. All of these are controlled by an automated, pre-written program, which is life's inherited code we bring with ourselves as we extend into matter. This is the program of evolution. Some people may say it is an undesirable process, but I want to assert that this is a wonderful mechanism as it ensures our being without us having to be consciously aware of it. In short, it ensures our survival. Once we understand these processes, we then realize that in fact we can control them. Yes, we can consciously control our lives in general, in terms of what occurs throughout our days, as well as what occurs throughout our bodies. In one word, our lives. This way we can bring forth immortality, which is the continuity of human life devoid of a time limit, controlled by our consciousness. Through familiarizing ourselves with our own being, we can reach an understanding of what global consciousness really entails, as well as the universe's energy-driven interconnectedness, its unity. This is the unity which creates a connection between all things in the cosmos. If we are capable of understanding this, we will be seamlessly integrated into this wondrous organism, live and exist in the universe's harmony. We are, of course, a part of this to begin with. We just need to consciously realize it and fulfill our part of the responsibility in its functioning. The Immortal Constellation is a new era, a revolutionary world spirit, where humanity's growing global consciousness will become merged with the universe's continuously evolving and changing cycles. By letting go of our current conditioned separateness, we seize our true nature. Through our own unit, which is none other than our physical bodies, we can experience the limitless possibilities of the collective oneness of the universe. I understand that at first glance, these concepts may seem heavy, challenging, or even far-fetched. However, if we can really discern its principal foundation, the rest will fall into place and it's possible to appreciate its straightforwardness. What is most crucial in order to utilize the information and knowledge is that we understand the objective, the purpose, and pay close attention to it. All teachings, no matter how different their sources, whether religious, spiritual, or scientific, their core essence remains the same. If we remove the surface elements, we will realize that we are all on a quest for the same thing. Realize that we do not have to look any further, as we have already found the secret, which is nothing else but experiencing unity through ourselves. We are the secret. The miracle is within us. We are the road and the destination simultaneously. Everything exists in the same place and moment, here and now. Myself and all else. The Creator, my own existence, and life itself. We realize that we do not have to learn anything, since the knowledge already exists within us. Instead, now is the time to pay close attention and bring it to our conscious surface. The first step is the acceptance that we are standing at the beginning of a new age, which comes with an evolutionary change. A change where our old habits, views, and mentality will no longer work to our advantage and must be eradicated. We have to realize that they were our ancestors, and in our era, they have become obsolete and archaic, and it is crucial for us to acquire our own. If we desire the elevation of our livelihood, we must change. To avoid any confusion, I'm not placing any blame on the past. It is both meaningless and counterproductive. For me, everything is perfect as is, as it unfolded. Instead, for the sake of progress, we must build the future. No matter what victories or horrors lie in the history books, we must learn to let go and look ahead. Humanity must wake up and realize that they do not currently possess control over their own lives. They do not actually create the plans, nor do they choose their own options. They are programmed, in a sense other than the natural program we discussed previously, and led away from their consciousness through means of hypnotic suggestions within the first moments of their lives. Someone who never really stops to carefully consider this may be under the impression their faith and their life is fully in their own grasp, which is unfortunately false. True free will is still a foreign concept hidden behind dogmatic illusions in today's world. Humanity is stuck, stumbling back and forth on the waves of fear, wars, illness, etc., while our mortality hangs over our heads. I do not know about you, but I've grown quite tired of this act, and I'm ready for the next in life's theater. One of the messages in this book is that we need to wake up and realize the things which are outdated, false, and no longer functional from life's perspective. Once we become aware of this, we will know they require radical change, of which the first step is the freeing and betterment of our own selves. Of course, this is also a process during our evolution. Immortality, human life's infinite continuity through the choice of our consciousness, and the necessary inevitable changes which come with it do not occur from one day to the next. Nevertheless, it is vital that we begin immediately. If we understand the importance of our consciousness and we actualize it, we can live our lives in health and happiness as if sickness and death were never present, because in actuality, it is not there, we just have been programmed to believe it. By unlocking this mind state, our life cycles themselves could be elongated by hundreds of years, giving us more of that precious concept of time to unlock even more secrets to life and its betterment. Yes, we can all stop and smirk here for a moment. I'm doing so myself, but not cynically. I am smirking because the thought fills me with genuine joy. I painted a beautiful picture of this future and hung it in a place where I can always see it, in the depths of my soul and mind. I eagerly invite all of you who also like it to let us marvel at it together. Let's look towards a better future together. We can cherish and protect this picture, keep it in the same depths of our souls, and if enough of us are able to both see it and believe in it, it can and will manifest itself. If we can grasp how the universe works, then we can see how important these types of pictures really are, as well as our thoughts and the emotions which follow suit, and all our hopes and desires. Because then we can sense and understand that it is us who manifests the occurrences in our world and the universe as a whole. By turning our attention, thoughts, emotions towards destructive ideas, even if merely out of interest or outrage. All the universe understands is that you are focusing on something malignant which evokes emotions and vibrations of anger, violence, malice, and so forth. For example, let's take the concept of war. There are many who are strongly against it. Why would they not be? It is the institutionalization of systematic death, displacement, violence driven by greed and division. But being viciously against war does not assist you or the world. The universe cannot do anything with the concept of opposition. All its senses are emotional vibrations you emit attached to war and death, and the negative emotions it evokes in you, such as anger and despair. If we put all our energy into negative things, then we are creating that reality. The universe cannot realign itself according to your wishes of peace by hating war. The universe cannot understand what it means to be against something. It is not in its vocabulary. By the laws of the universe's very nature, nothing is ever against or opposing. It only understands harmony and unison, collective consciousness and effort. Instead of filling your heart with hatred for war or its participants, fill your heart with love and peace and positive hope for those suffering at its hands. What we need to do is realize what is happening to us and why. And if we do not like what is happening, we must make a new plan and turn all focus and effort towards it. We must concentrate our energy towards the path we want to take, both for our own sake and for that of humanity's. The contents of this book are not entirely newfangled. All this information is out there in our world and in the universe itself. What matters is the configuration we choose to fit it into. All the data and the possibilities are there. Everything is possible. What is really the proof against immortality? My only goal here is to put forth an alternative viewpoint to provide you with perhaps a different way to looking at the world. Firstly, let us begin with a question. What is the proof against immortality? What is the proof that there is no such a thing as continuous life made possible by the choice of an awakened consciousness? The reason people do not believe in its possibility can be explained as an outcome of a lack of experience, a lack of encounter with it. But how could we experience something if we do not only disbelieve but even refute it? Once again, the only proof against immortality is the experience we've had with it, more specifically, the lack thereof. Because of this, an unshakable belief has developed inside of us, which rules out the possibility of immortality, a rule which is not open to change. Science has never proved that immortality is impossible. It is actually the opposite. In today's modern scientific world, there are many various fields where they came to the conclusion that, theoretically, it is a completely viable possibility. Under certain circumstances and the right surrounding environment, immortality is actually very possible, and the possibility exists to theoretically extend the human lifespan with no finite end. For me, what is even more proof is my own intuition and conviction, which radiates from inside, which is nothing else but the most deep-seated and intense longing, desire, and hope for happiness. Happiness, our greatest hope and desire. All people possess a deep-seated desire for happiness, paired together with a strong conviction. We not only long for it, but are convinced that it exists and are expecting to attain it. This is what we refer to as hope. Hope goes hand in hand with faith and love. Let us examine more closely how this relationship works together within us. By trying to understand what this word really means, let's see what it is that we desire and long after. Of course, one can hope for Many relatively small-scale things, including financial stability, a life partner, or even a business deal going well. But all of these are just small components of what could help us complete the picture and elevate us to joy. What we ultimately desire is none other than happiness itself. In other words, our fervent longing of achieving happiness manifests itself as the concept of hope. That is the constant pursuit we are in, the pursuit of happiness. This is what drives us. Sometimes we take the wrong roads and make the wrong choices simply because we are not certain which path to take or which will get us there the fastest. Nevertheless, it is always present within us, and there is a strong possibility to attain something which we desire so intensely. There is possibility because this is how the universe works. Firstly, we must understand, what do we really mean by happiness? Happiness is experiencing continuous progress, which is nothing else but proceeding in the direction of life, to live in harmony and love with ourselves and everything that surrounds us, without fear. For us to reach this state, we have to rid ourselves of our most fundamental fear, which is none other than death. The only way we can do this is if we become aware of our potential immortality. The first and foremost condition of this is the awakening and elevation of our consciousness. It is true, we created many theories to explain and justify death as a way of dulling its sting and making it possible for us to more easily digest the thought, to lighten its gripping fear. We have internalized that it is both inevitable and necessary, but all of these are just compromises. It is in direct opposition with our deepest desires and the very essence of who we are. Some may oppose this proclamation at first and may respond by saying they do not wish to live forever. But when they really think about it, as people age, this desire to live manifests itself visibly. We should not have to compromise our desires and the real essence of who we are. If we do this, our entire lives consist of a string of compromises, as we do not possess the strength and knowledge to realize or actualize our potentials. Therefore, we are curbed and caged by our fears. We do not understand that our knowledge of life, the theories and explanations surrounding it, including our own experiences, is merely one level. One which, by realizing our realm of possibilities, we could overstep. Terminology, my personal set of definitions. Here you will find a few words and expressions which require some explanation in order to fully understand my interpretation of them. It is important that you fully familiarize yourself with my intended meaning so that the words properly express the same meaning for the both of us. Death. What is death? First, for this entire concept of immortality to be fathomable, let us examine what exactly it is that we are protesting against, running from, and wish to defeat. What does this word mean? Death. If we are unfamiliar with something, how can we know what to expect from it, and how do we know what tools to employ when approaching it? A relationship with the unknown is completely unpredictable. We do not know how to behave or react, since we do not know what to expect from it. Our strength lies in our knowledge and understanding, and a lack of it will inevitably end in our defeat. When a person dies, what is it that we see and experience, referring to the person observing, which we can conclude from that death has occurred? Here you could list off many professional terms and definitions. Instead, I will just use common sense and refer to only one word, which is a collective summary of it all. That's most visible and distinguishable characteristic is motionlessness. The entity which forms the human body stops functioning or moving. In other words, our entity's functional constituents quit working together with one another. In short, the parts of our body, our organs, tissue, down to every cell, cease to work together, cease to perform motion. Motion being both the body's and life's purpose, it therefore ceases life. In other words, if for some reason the mutual and harmonious cooperation within a body stops, the elements in our bodies are not capable of functioning on their own because of their strict codependence on one another, it causes it to fall apart and disintegrate, ultimately resulting in death. If we look at the human body, it is nothing else than the individual parts which our bodies are composed of, organized into a certain fashion. Their functioning based on close-knit collaboration and mutual reliance. This is the entity which we call our body. If a single element stops collaborating in this close-knit community and it is not able to regain its balance, it will have an immediate impact on all others which rely on their interdependent relationship, setting forth a chain effect. The original shape the system formed will be altered and modified. The individual parts themselves will remain the same, but they will fall apart and cease to keep the original structure. From the individual element's point of view, all this entire process means is that they take on a different shape. But from a human's perspective, this structure revision signifies death. What we can draw away from this is that death, in the form of the concept we are familiar with, only exists from our human perspective. A consequence of overturning of its individual elements and their collaboration. In reality, the individual parts will simply transform and function in a different form. From a human standpoint, this means the body's death. I'm not sure how alleviated everyone feels about this physical law that matter does not disappear but merely transforms. From my point of view, it is useful and good to know this, but would be better if there was a way to control and govern these transformations so that they do not govern us. Death can occur for many reasons, whether it be accidental, deliberate, or as a result of health issues. But no single explanation that professionals or gerontologists have put forward has been able to explain all the changes of aging. So far, scientific and medical research has been incapable of sufficiently explaining why our body's cells cease to regenerate at the same pace as we age. Upon an autopsy, the cause of death is always accounted for as a result of organ or body system insufficiency or failure. But there remains a mysterious question. If the organ failed as a result of natural aging, then how come not all of the other organs in the body age at the same rate and all fail us at the same time? It is not the case that our remaining organs are close to failure and are just as aged. The majorities of the time, the rest of the organs are in perfect shape and would still be perfectly capable of sustaining life for an unknown number of years. Connecting this to the previous point, death is the result of our inability to keep our parts functioning harmoniously together. My point being is that though we refer to aging as a natural process, there is no natural reason for why the continuous renewal of our cells should slow down and inevitably cease completely. Our bodies are under constant renewal. Cells divide, perish, while new one takes their place. Though, depending on their type, each cell life cycles varies, but virtually all will regenerate, resulting in a completely fresh body and system. If the body is capable of such a wondrous feat, what is the reason for it stopping? If we take this standing point, there is no such a thing as natural aging or, consequently, natural death. There are no concepts like this in nature. There is only unnatural or nature-opposing behavior and their resulting outcomes. From nature's point of view, the word death and its human interpretation does not exist. If we are capable of getting better acquainted with the laws of nature and with the required knowledge, we would act according to it and we could take control into our own hands. We would be able to govern our own bodies and we wouldn't have to concede to the consequences of our ignorance. There is only one working law, and that is the unity and entity of the universe, which is nature, which is life itself. Everything else in between is simply human ignorance, the arrogance of narrow-minded people who assume they can create laws without proper knowledge. Going against the laws of nature is proof of ignorance because intelligence and life do not work against themselves. There is an eternal truth. I am who I am, and I cannot be something else. In our case meaning, all humans are from nature. We are internal and integral parts of it, elemental components. That is to say that we are nature itself, which is nothing else but life. So let us summarize. What is death? Death is the ceasing of life. In other words, the ceasing of movement, the dissolution of unity, which is not a process of nature. However, to understand what is that we believe to cease, we must first understand what life is. Following this logic, we can fathom the idea that life cannot cease, hence death cannot exist. In the following part, this is exactly what we will be putting to the test and discussing.